What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So, you know, incidentally, in the video that I did talking about Gene LaBelle passing away yesterday, I talked about the incident that occurred between Steven Seagal and Gene LaBelle some years ago. So then I saw that Steven Seagal is trending right now, and that is because right now he's pushing anti-Ukrainian propaganda. Bullshit, right? And I don't have a dog. I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't really give a fuck about Ukraine versus Russia. This isn't the reason why I'm doing this video. The reason why I'm doing this video, though, is because I love doing one thing more than anything else, probably anything else on here, is pointing out hypocrisy. And I want to, someone explain to me, why was it that many people in the media and many people in general pointed out that they had an issue with Dennis Rodman having a friendship with Kim Jong-un, right, the leader of North Korea. But nobody's ever called out Steven Seagal for being friends with Vladimir Putin. No one's ever pointed that out, especially considering the fact that Dennis Rodman seems to be apolitical. And the only reason for their friendship is Kim Jong-un loves American culture, loves the NBA, and is a fan of Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman doesn't consult with him on anything political. He never makes any political statements in regard to Kim Jong-un. But not only does Steven Seagal parrot a lot of at times anti-American propaganda, but he seems to be overtly pro-Russia. Spends a lot of his time over in Russia, and and I believe he has dual citizenship in the United States and Russia. Doesn't it sound kind of funky to people? It sounds kind of funky to me. Now, I understand that when Trump was president, a lot of Trump supporters pretended like all of a sudden it was okay to be in bed with Russia. I get it. Russia is like this one country that is led by, it's like the last superpower where the perception is the country is majority white. I get that angle of it. Putin is like a symbol of strong, white pride or whatever. I get all of that. But it's funny. Ever since Biden's been in the White House, now all of a sudden Russia's turned back to being a communist nation, even though they haven't been a communist state in 30 years. But now all of a sudden, Russia is now all of a sudden a commie nation again, right? And Putin is the enemy again. Well, if that's the case, then why don't people call out Steven Seagal for being an enemy of the state, for pushing pro-nationalist agendas, even if it comes at the expense of American foreign policy? That sounds like a person that isn't very patriotic to me. But, of course, nobody's going to call him out on that shit. Nobody. But they had a problem with Dennis Rodman being friends with a dictator. Because they like to hang out and watch basketball games and just hang out like friends. But this guy not only lives in Russia, has a home in Russia, and spends the majority of his time in Russia. He's a Russian citizen. And he's pretty much I guarantee you Steven Seagal will tell you right now that he trusts Putin more than he does Biden. And I have to say, I don't give a fuck how you want to spin it. That sounds very treasonous to me. But of course, in the deluded mind of a Trump supporter, they're going to twist it as if, well, no, we're all sheep and this is the truth. And by the way, Josh, I saw you post this in my video about, what was her name, Carrie Lake, and how you try to twist this thing where Carrie Lake was up by 12,000 votes and too close to call, and with Biden, you posted the final margin of 10,000 votes, and that was a victory. Well, see, what you forget to mention is that at one point Biden was up by 70,000 votes. That's what you forget to mention. You forget to mention that when they called the state for Joe Biden, those who are experts in calling elections and tabulating votes, they felt with 99% certainty that despite the fact that the remaining counties and vote areas were heavily Trump, they did not see how he was going to erase that 70,000 vote margin. Now, he did cut it by 60,000, but as you saw, he fell short, as the experts predicted. Whereas compared to Carrie Lake, they weren't exactly sure where these votes were coming from. So that's why they were a little bit hesitant to call the election for Carrie Lake. She didn't have an 80,000 vote lead. Now, eventually her 12,000 vote lead swelled to 36,000 as the votes that were coming in actually were favorable to her. So that's the difference. But anyway, it's just fun. It's fun doing this. It's just fun. It's fun. You know what else is interesting? People like Josh can never really tell me or tell you where any of this voter fraud is coming from. They just cite, everybody knows. Well, if you do your research, they can never really give you any definitive thing other than some rumors about trucks being found with votes in them and all this hogwash, right? At the end of the day, 2016 was close, right? 2020 was closer. Even though Biden won by 7 million votes nationally, a lot of that came from California and New York. He won California by 5 million votes, 11 million to 6 million. And he won New York by something around 2 million votes. If you take those two states away, the election was a tie out in the other 48 states in D.C. If you take D.C. away, Trump actually had a tiny plurality. So in the 48 states outside of D.C., New York, and California, it was a very close election. And in those states, it was even closer in 2020 than it was in 2016. So what I'm saying is, if they rigged the election, they did a terrible job of rigging it. Terrible job. Because if I'm going to rig an election, I'm going to do what actual riggers like LBJ did. I'm going to make sure that we won the goddamn thing. But common sense is lacking here when it comes to a lot of these right-wing extremists, voter fraud conspirators. Anyway, tell me what you guys think.